kind of a muddy mess, but we're here in Wahpeton, North Dakota, picking up from, I suppose, what is a sugar plant. So that giant mound over there is something or other that gets processed into sugar. I'm assuming it's probably like sweet potatoes or something like that, or beets of some kind. I don't know, but this place is massive. There's another big mound of the stuff. And back over here, actually, let me go out the window there. There's the line I'm sitting in of all these trucks waiting to get loaded with sugar. And more trucks. There's the plant. And there are more trucks filled with those big ass things. I think those are some sort of a beet. But heck, I don't know. I don't know anything about it. I don't know how they make sugar other than sugar cane. Is that sugar cane? No, it doesn't look like it. But yeah, pretty cool place. It's like being in a different planet. So we're gonna get loaded up with sugar. Yay! Yeah, so it is sugar beets that they are processing, but this isn't a sugar beet. No, what this is what I just used. Again, this is a lifesaver, and for any new drivers, or hell, any old drivers, whatever, you're going to have all those occasions where you got to sweep out and clean out a trailer, right? Well, this bad boy is a battery-powered leaf blower, and it is not just any one. It is a 60 volt rechargeable. Battery pack is right there. Flex Force, blah, blah, blah. 565 CFM. I will tell you what, when you put the power on this little sucker, it will blow that trailer clear in about 30 seconds flat. So what I do is I go back in there with a garbage bag. I pick up anything that's larger or anything that's, non-biodegradable, plastic, all that kind of stuff, metals and stuff. But anything, that's just dust, dirt, and little tiny pieces of wood and stuff like that blows right out the back. So nice clean trailer in all of about literally 30 seconds. Worth every penny. Good morning, everybody. It is Dirk. It is Tuesday morning, bright and early. It's 7:30 a.m. We've been rolling here for a little bit. And we're heading back east and south from the Great White North, and heading towards Staunton, Wisconsin to deliver this load of sugar. So yeah, where we last left off, I was at that sugar producing facility, and it sits pretty much right on the North Dakota-Minnesota border in Wahpeton, North Dakota. So it's almost like right next to the Red River, which is the state border. So really interesting place, that sugar mill. I've never been to one, so that's one of the cool things about trucking. When you start getting out here and doing it, if you haven't before, you end up going to a lot of places that you almost like never knew existed. So like obviously I know what sugar is, and obviously I know that sugar has to be made somewhere somehow, but I never really gave it any conscious thought beyond that. It's like, oh, there's sugar, whatever. But there's an entire industry involved in producing that sugar, and there are farmers and growers that are growing the sugar beets, and there's seed companies producing the seeds, and there's all this agriculture business set up around growing those sugar beets, and then all those sugar beets have to be transported, and there are a lot of them. Holy crap, it was like truck after truck after truck coming in there full of sugar beets. And so you've got that, and then you've got that massive facility that looked like an oil refinery. I mean, the thing was huge, and all these different buildings and pipes and steam coming out of this, and pulp coming out of that. And I mean, it was amazing to watch their whole process going there. So yeah, it's kind of like you get this on the road education, because you get to see all of these places that normally people don't really see. They don't even think about, let alone get to like go inside of these places and actually see them and see what people do and see how this stuff is done. It's absolutely fascinating, especially for a total geek nerd like me. That, I mean, I love learning stuff. I love, like I mentioned on yesterday's video, when I watch TV, I watch documentaries. That's pretty much all I watch. Just because I'm fascinated. I have a really curious brain, and I love seeing stuff that, you know, oftentimes I'm not familiar with, or perhaps I am familiar with it and just want to know more, you know. And like aviation, for an example, I spent years, decades in the aviation business, international airlines. And, you know, so I know a lot about aviation, a whole lot about aviation. And still, if there's a documentary about airplanes, or, you know, crash investigations, or, you know, whatever, manufacturing, how the 747 was designed and built and all that, I'm glued to it. I can't stop watching it. So for me, this is really cool to see these kind of places. And like with Hirschbach, when I was with them, you know, I got to see all sorts of different things involved with the production of meats. You know, some of it pretty gruesome, you know, not really pleasant, but, you know, still fascinating nonetheless, to see how all of this stuff is done, to see what's involved in bringing food to your table. Because, you know, again, normally people don't even give it a thought. You know, they go to the supermarket and, you know, they fill up their cart and they pay and they go home, and, you know, that's the end of it. You know, they put their groceries away and then they eat dinner and stuff, and they don't think. They don't think, okay, where did that meat come from? You know, where did that ground beef come from? Where, you know, where did that lettuce come from? Where did, you know, all of these different things. You know, their entire industry is built around them. So it's really fascinating. So anyway, I think that's one of the really the coolest things about being in trucking, is getting kind of a little bit of an insider view on, you know, all these different things. It's really cool. But anyway, I ended up staying there for a very long time. I was there for 4 hours, and, you know, that happens. You know, when it's kind of luck of the draw, because it's first come, first serve. And when I got there, you know, I pulled in and there was a pretty long line of trucks. So consequently, you know, by the time I was loaded and gone, it was 4 hours from the time I got there to the time I left. The guy who was behind me, he came like right when I was about to pull onto the dock door to finally get loaded. Another guy pulled in right behind me. You know, so he was probably, you know, in and out of there in, you know, 45 minutes to an hour. So that's another thing about trucking, that, you know, especially with these first come, first serve places, and there are a lot of them, you know, it's luck of the draw. Sometimes you get there in a lull and bam, you're in and out. And sometimes you get there when everybody else just happens to get there. It's almost like they, you know, everybody waited on a hill and they called them, go! And everybody hits at once, you know. No, that's not what happens, but sometimes it almost feels like that. So anyway, I got out of there. I had nothing left on my clock, actually. My clock ran out when I was being loaded. And so I put it into personal conveyance and left. And I remember on the drive in, we're talking, you know, Wahpeton, North Dakota. This is a tiny town. It's, you know, I mean, I have no idea what the size is, but my guess would be like population 200. I mean, it's agriculture. It's in the middle of quote unquote nowhere. It's all fields, right? But I remember on this one intersection there were a couple of, you know, smaller truck stops. So I PC'd over there, and I hadn't really paid much attention to them. I just saw them and knew they were there. And one of them turned out to be this Cenex truck stop. Cenex I don't see them a lot. I see them in Minnesota. I'm not sure if they're in Wisconsin too. I know they're in Minnesota. I know they're in North Dakota. And I think they're also in Wisconsin. But it's early and my brain isn't fully engaged yet. But anyway, this place was like almost brand new. I asked the guy when I went in there, and it was just completed last March. So not just this past month, but a year ago, so it's exactly a year old. And it looked like a hunting lodge. I mean, it was beautiful. And lots of parking, and they had really, really fresh salads and stuff in there. And not like your typical, gas station. Those salads have been sitting there for 4 days and are all wilted and nasty. Really nice, fresh stuff. So it almost reminded me a little bit of Quick Trip. Quick Trip, for those who are familiar, a lot of times they have some really good stuff. They're about the closest thing to an actual grocery store that you can get in terms of truck stops. So kudos to Quick Trip. They always have. They're always nicely stocked with some real food, some more healthy stuff. So anyway, I got 2 of these huge salads because I'm voracious when it comes to salads, and I have this monster bowl here in the truck with me, and I just pigged out. So that was great, and some grilled chicken on it, fantastic. So feeling good today. I did basically like an 8-hour break. I mean, technically it was 10 hours because I was off duty, and then PC'd, and then went into sleeper berth. So my break was, in terms of my log, way more than 10 hours, but in actual terms of me sleeping and actually having time to eat and sleep and all that good stuff, was about 8 hours. So, which means I got about 5 or 6 hours of sleep. So I'm pretty tired. I'm dragging a little bit, but that's okay. I'm one of these people that, like, even if I'm tired, I just have this inner energy that I can just keep going. I'm like an Energizer bunny, and that's one of the things that made me think I'd be a good truck driver, because even driving in cars and stuff, taking road trips, no matter how tired I was, I could still concentrate, and I would never, drift or anything like that. I'm like hyper alert when I'm in something that's moving, especially if I'm in control of it. So anyway, I'm rambling. It's probably the coffee, but that's okay. We are on our way to Staunton, and hopefully smooth sailing. Hopefully the weather cooperates. Well, nature calls. Yes, we truck drivers are not robots. We do have to do bodily functions. I'm not going to explain any further. I think you get the idea. Anyway, there's a rest stop coming up. I think we'll pull in here and go check out how nice the rest stop is. Just double check on, sanitation and make sure they're emptying the trash and all that good stuff. But I thought, hell, I'll take you with me, at least to the parking space. You don't need to go into the bathroom with me. I mean, we don't know each other that well. And even if we did, guys kind of don't do that. Go into the bathroom together and all of that. Not really a guy thing to do. But hey, maybe some do. I don't know. And if they do, you know what? You do you. More power to you. You want to go in groups? Great. Hello, guys.
Half a mile, go straight ahead and then enter.
And let's see here. They were very friendly. I waved and no wave back. Well, hey, what are you going to do? Oh, look, a Walmart truck. Let's park next to Walmart. And night. Yes, you too can be royalty. You can drive for night transportation. They will anoint you with a big-ass sword. Oh, I kid. Let's see if I got straight. Oh, look at that. I'm actually almost straight. Look at that. You never know with me. I'm all over the place. All right. I think that's pretty good right there. Oh, look, they got little picnic areas and stuff. So one of the things I always do when I pull into one of these, rest stops, you'll notice that I didn't drive down the entire lane looking for the closest spot possible to the building, which is what I see a lot of people do. And it's like, okay, wait a second. You spend hours upon hours upon hours sitting driving your truck. Why do you want to park close? I don't get. Now, okay, let me back that up a little bit. If you have health issues, if you have an injury, something like that, okay, fine. I totally get that. I understand. It's not like I'm some unsympathetic asshole. I get it. So for those folks, fine. You get a pass. But for people that are healthy and able-bodied, don't park close. Park as far away as you can possibly park, no matter where you go. Even if like you breeze by a Walmart or something to go, grab some groceries or something. Park in the farthest spot you can possibly find in that lot and walk. Get out of your truck and walk. Walking is one of the most healthy things you can do. It is simple. It doesn't make you break a sweat and get all nasty. It's the human body needs to move. So get out and move. Get out and walk. Just, when you stop, even a few minutes just walking around, it makes a difference. So there, I care about you and I care about your health. So anyway, I will shut up now and go do my thing, and we'll be back on the road. Much better. All right, happy bladder, happy me. Off and running. Yeah, every now and then, as a truck driver, you gotta stop and actually pee in a restroom instead of a bottle every now and then. It's a good thing. It's good for your mental health. Boy, I'm in a mood today. Anyway, probably the caffeine.
Continue on the current road.
Yes, I'll continue on the current road. Thank you. Beautiful little rest stop here. Very, very nice. Such pretty land around here anyway. Kind of hard not to make a pretty rest area, right? When you got gorgeous landscape to build it in. At any rate, I was reminded as I was walking back up to my truck, I was, kind of thinking about last night and at that sugar plant and yesterday's video. And I showed you guys my leaf blower, right? So that's a great investment, by the way. If you don't have one, get yourself a really good leaf blower, and not one of those cheap ones. Get like a powerful one, like I got. It's 60-volt monster, worth every penny, because it literally, under a minute you can clean that entire trailer out. And anyway. I was reminded yesterday of the guy who pulled in after me. So I had waited and waited and waited to get on that dock, and finally I was my turn to get on there, and I backed in, and so they had started loading me. And that driver who came in after me, he came in first of all through the wrong entrance, and so he was kind of coming against the grain of the flow of how they want traffic going. So I could tell. He had never been there before. I hadn't either, but, I kind of followed the signs, and which weren't all that easy to follow. So, I give the guy some slack, and, and we truck drivers like to get all over other truck drivers and, tease relentlessly and all that good stuff. And, a lot of that is just humor, it's just, poking fun and all that kind of stuff. And that's all well and good. But unfortunately, a lot of it is really negative, and it's really just, I don't know, it's just toxic in my opinion. People just going out of their way to be nasty to each other, and I've never understood the point of that, because it doesn't make you feel good. It doesn't make the person you're doing it to feel good. You end up just being a miserable person that nobody wants to be around, and nobody wants that. So, the key to life, be nice to people. It's amazing how your life transforms when you're nice to people. Put an effort out there. Put an effort to brighten somebody's day or do something nice for them. And I'll tell you what, when you start getting into that habit, all of a sudden you start feeling better. You start feeling better about yourself and your place in the world, and, your character starts getting polished. And that makes people want to be around you and not, want to be running away from you. So just a little bit of life advice there. So, because I'm an old man and I can give it at this point. But anyway, back to my point. Look, squirrel. This guy gets out of his truck and he's walking, trying to find a door to go talk to somebody, and of course there isn't any. Because he didn't hit the scale. So this is one of those places where you're getting bulk loaded. So the first thing you do when you drive into the proper gate is you pull right onto a scale and they weigh your empty truck. And then you get loaded, and that way they know how much they can put on your truck without overloading you, right? And sometimes they weigh you when you leave to calculate how much they've put on you. In this place, they didn't do that. They just wanted to make sure they weren't overloading you. Oh, by the way, I now know the exact weight of my truck and an empty trailer. So if anybody wants to guess, there'll be no prizes, but feel free to guess. It's heavy. I'll tell you that much. But anyway, back again to the point. Focus, Dirk, focus. So I saw this guy was kind of confused, and he looked foreign to me, black guy, and he looked kind of African descent. And so, I got out of my truck and I'm like, hey, what's going on? Do you need some help? And he's like, and he had a really thick accent, kind of semi-broken English. And sure enough, he was from somewhere on the African continent. I have no idea what country. We didn't go there. I didn't ask. But, I'm guessing like Nigeria, something like that. But a very nice guy, and he was obviously very flustered, and he didn't really understand what was going on. And unfortunately, the company that he drove for obviously wasn't providing him a lot of help. And so I told him, I pointed out the building that he needed to go over to, and you need to get on a scale. They'll give you a scale ticket, and once you're done with that, come over here and just position yourself over in this space where I was, because he saw where I was before I pulled onto the door. And I said, you just position yourself right there, and then when they're done loading me, then you do like what I just did and pull on the door, and they'll load you. And he was just, you could tell he was just like overjoyed that somebody was like willing to step up and help him. And it's like, I wish more people would do that, not wait until somebody necessarily asks you. And of course, you don't necessarily want to come over to somebody and be, Mr. Mansplaining know-it-all either. There's a balance there, there's a fine line. But if you see somebody that obviously doesn't quite know what's going on or is confused or whatever, get out of your truck, go help them. If that was you, you would really, really appreciate it too. I think we truck drivers need to do a lot more of that. We need to help each other out, because let's face it, we're all on our own most of the time, and we're all taking on all this stuff by ourselves. And it's nice when somebody is willing to, get up and help, so it's a good thing, and I think we should actively look for opportunities to do that. And last night was one of them, so I helped this guy out, and all of a sudden he looked really nervous again. I'm like, what's up? He goes, oh, I saw your doors were open and your trailer was all clean. I said, do we have to clean out really sweep out the trailers and stuff? And I said, well, yeah, I mean, you're picking up food product, you're picking up sugar. I would say, you definitely want to sweep the trailer out. And he goes, oh, shit. And I said, what? And he goes, I don't have broom, and I'm like, oh, no worries. Here, let me give you this. So I gave him my leaf blower, and I showed him real quick how to use it. And he was like, all like kid in Christmas, it was like, wow, that thing's cool, I'm like, yeah, here, go use it, and, so he's like, thank you. And he ran over to his truck, and I could see, the dust and dirt blowing out of his trailer. And you know, when he was done, he came back over and you know, he gave me my leaf blower and he was like, thank you. I really appreciate it. And I'm like, hey, brother, no problem. You know, that's what we do. We've got to help each other out, man. Nobody else is going to help us. We help each other. And so very nice guy, you know, and it made me feel really good that here this guy comes in the wrong way into this incredibly big, huge, complicated, confusing place. Obviously never been there. He looked like a deer staring into the headlights. And he was kind of overwhelmed by it all. And, you know, it's like I took a couple minutes of my time, helped the guy out, let him borrow my leaf blower. You know, I mean, just basic human kindness. And I guarantee you I made this guy's day, if not his week. I mean, he was so sincerely grateful that somebody actually thought enough to help him. And so that's my my story. I'm not sharing that for a pat on the back or hail. It's not self-ingratiating. It's not hey everybody look, I'm a good guy. None of that. It's just the message I want to convey is that it's what we should be doing. It's what all of us should be doing. We should be stopping with all the nasty stuff and stop, pointing a finger and laughing at people. I could have been a real prick. I could have been sitting there hunched over my steering wheel staring at them with with this "you're just a stupid motherfucker" stare, like so many of us do. And it's like, okay, what does that do? That just makes this guy's life even more miserable, and it makes you more miserable. So that's my message. That's what I want to get across to people. Be nice. Go out of your way to be nice to people. You'll be amazed at how much your life improves when you start doing it. So I will now step back off of my soapbox and I will continue driving. Well, guys, I'm here to share yet another life lesson with you. Learn from my stupidity. Learn from my procrastinating. Yeah. So I picked up this load, of course, by now, and it's a load of sugar. Bulk sugar, these gigantic white bags of sugar that are on skids, on pallets, all banded and taped. And they're about 2,000 pounds worth of sugar a piece. Obviously, they're ultimately going to some, commercial bakery or soda manufacturer, or whatever, some place that uses a lot of sugar, right? So 40-something thousand pounds worth of the stuff in the trailer. So I'm heavy. And I have been meaning to slide my fifth wheel for the last, I'd say, 2 weeks. I knew that it was a little bit too far forward, and because a few loads that I had that were a little bit on the heavy side, I noticed that my steer axle was getting very, very close to 12,000 pounds. And 12,000 pounds, for those who don't know, is the maximum allowable gross weight for your front steer axles on a conventional semi-truck. So I noticed that like a load that was like 70,000 pounds, which is 10,000 pounds underneath the maximum of 80,000 pound gross weight for a conventional tractor trailer. So let's say I had a total of 70,000 pounds. Well, I noticed that my steers were almost at 12,000 pounds, and that shouldn't be. That means that I'm getting too much of the weight that the trailer is pushing down. It's pushing down a little bit too far forward towards those steers. So what you do then is those fifth wheels on a lot of the trucks, on most trucks nowadays, you can slide them forward and backwards. And a very, very small incremental move, they move like by, I think, about an inch and a half, something like that, per hole. So it's a very, very slight movement forward or back. but it translates to a very big shift in weight, and I don't remember precisely what it was, so please don't jump all over me if I say it wrong, but I want to say, without looking it up, it was something like somewhere between 400 or 600 pounds. I'm leaning towards 600 pounds of difference, so meaning that if I were to take that fifth wheel and slide it back, that's putting more of that kingpin weight farther back by 1.5 inches or so, and that's going to take about 600, if I'm correct, 600 pounds off of those front steers and move it to the back. And consequently, if you move it that 1.5 inches forward one hole, it'll pull 600 pounds forward onto those steers. So the way you do it, for those uninitiated or unaccustomed or whatever, is ideally you want to do it with an empty trailer, because what you need to do is you need to hook up to a trailer, and then you need to crank the landing gear down, and then once the landing gear feet hit the ground, you need to continue cranking a little bit to physically lift that front kingpin, the front head of the trailer. You want to lift some of its own tear weight off of that fifth wheel skid plate in order to the little pins on the side that hold it in place, for them to be able to retract. If you have all that weight on them, they won't be able to move. So by lifting that trailer up just a bit and taking that weight off, it kind of makes those pins float a little bit more in their sockets so that they can move more easily in and out. So normally you would do that, like I said, with an empty trailer, because you're having to, your physical cranking is what's raising that trailer up, and the trailer by itself is pretty heavy. Well, stupid me, I didn't do it. I kept saying, oh shit, I was just on an empty trailer, but I'm in a hurry, I've got to drop this thing, I got to pick up my load, I got to get going, I'm running short on hours, I'll do it later. Yeah, okay, famous last words. So now I've got this heavy load of sugar. I think it's like 42 or 43,000 pounds. So it's heavy. And I go to the scale because I'm crossing, we're now in Wisconsin, by the way. We just passed Roberts, Wisconsin, and we're heading towards Eau Claire. And of course, when you come from Minnesota into Wisconsin, guess what? How do all the states greet you when you drive a truck? A weigh station. So I'm thinking, oh shit, I got to scale this thing. I eyeballed it, and it looked all right to me. I'm getting to the point now where I'm good enough to spot the proper balance between the tractor and the trailer visually, just by the compression of the suspension. I can kind of see it, and I know that that's not the way to do it by the book, but I mean, I'm pretty accurate with it. I'm pretty good with judging it, and I was in the middle of nowhere picking this load up, so there wasn't scales anywhere close by. Otherwise I would have stopped. So I eyeballed it, looked good to me, and of course when you're driving, you also, as you get more experience, you begin to get a feel for that too, because you can physically feel the performance difference in the truck when you've got, let's say, too much weight on the drive axles or not enough weight and there's too much weight on the trailer. You can actually feel it in the way the truck moves and responds. And if it starts feeling janky, then you've got an imbalance problem. So the truck was driving perfectly fine, and I thought, you know what, I'm pretty much there. So I stop at this scale, and the good news was, as I pulled onto the scale, I was dead on. I mean, I had like 33 and change on the drive axles, and I had like 32 and change on the trailer axles, which is exactly what you want. You want just a little bit more weight on your drives for traction and balance and turning performance, as opposed to having more weight on the tail, because that can give you that crack the whip effect with the back of the trailer, and it can also actually help lift your drive tires up if it starts doing that, and you'll lose traction on your drives, and that's how you jackknife. So always try to make sure that you've got a little bit more weight on your drives than on your trailer. to be ideal. I mean, dry weather conditions, it's probably not an issue, but if it's wet and slippery, especially if it's snowy and icy, that shit will make you jackknife. You gotta watch it. So I was pretty much dead on in my, you know, kind of feeling out my balance. So I was very happy with that. I once, you know, confirmed that I am actually seeing it correctly. But the problem was I had 12,200 pounds on my steers. I'm like, shit. You know, if I get called into the scale house, that's a ticket. Tickets for semi-trucks are very expensive. And even worse, it goes on your DAC report. And that DAC report is gold. You do not want stuff on your DAC report, right? So I want to have everything squeaky clean. I want my drug and alcohol clearinghouse stuff I don't ever have to worry about, because I don't do drugs, I don't even drink. So I never have to worry about that. But my DAC report, you know, that's tickets and all that kind of stuff, accidents, whatever. I'm doing my damnedest to make sure I never get anything on that. So I'm like, crap, I got to try and move this fifth wheel now with 40-something thousand pounds in the box, right? So I just got my workout. I paid for my procrastination in sweat. Luckily it's cold out, so I wasn't sweating. But yeah, I'm the idiot out there in the truck stop that's hand cranking a 40,000 pound trailer up off of the fifth wheel skid plate. Yeah, that was fun. And you know, finally got it in the right balance, because it's actually very finicky. You know, you have to have it just right. You can't have it too high, you can't have it too low, and I'm talking about like not even a millimeter. I mean, it's like super hair splitting. And anybody that's moved a fifth wheel before, you know exactly what I'm talking about. They are a monstrous pain in the ass to move, and they don't get moved very often. So therefore, those pins that are in those rails locked in place, they stay there for quite some time and through a season or two, and they end up getting corroded and, you know, filled with mud and dirt and grime and soot, and, you know, they're basically almost like fused into place if they haven't been moved in a long time. So even like, you know, these modern trucks, they've got an air slide, they've got an air release. You know, so it's pneumatic. So if you hit this thing, air pressure will retract those pins, and then air pressure will push them back out. Yeah, well, the problem is when it's dirty and it's old, you know, and it's been used for a while, that doesn't work all that great, you know. So if you're not exactly perfect, they won't retract. And even worse, getting them to retract is the easy part. Because, you know, you jiggle around, if you've got the trailer high enough and you jiggle it back and forth enough, you'll hear them snap, because those pneumatic systems seem to have a lot more strength pulling the pins out than they do pushing them back in, because almost every time I've done it, I've had to take my the hammer that I use to check my tires, which is a big, you know, it's a 3-pound hammer, but it's got that plastic head on it, you know, that rubberized head. And so it doesn't damage stuff. And so I have to go out there on that pneumatic, basically looks like a shock absorber almost, that's laying down on its side in front of the skid plate. And I have to go underneath there, so you're going underneath the lip of the trailer, and what's underneath the lip of the trailer? It's caked full of old grease. It's just caked full of crud, right? So I'm having to slip my arm in between the top of that trailer and you know, and the tractor and all of that, you know, mud flap and all that kind of stuff. There's not a lot of room. So, you know, thankfully I've got, you know, mile-long gorilla arms, and I'm in there with that mallet just whacking the crap out of that shock absorber thing, the air retractor, because, you know, it doesn't have enough strength to push the pins back out. So eventually I got it. You know, you're having to move the tractor, you know, a fraction of an inch back or forth. Well, you know, something this size with air suspension and all the rest of it, to get that precise of a movement, that's very difficult to do. So you know, as soon as you goose the throttle once, it'll shoot all the way back, you know. So it's very tricky. It's very much a pain in the ass. It's a lot easier to do when you have a helper, but I don't think I've ever moved a fifth wheel with a helper. I've always done it myself, just because in that circumstance I had to. But I've always been able to do it, and I did it this time. And you know, and when I say whacking that thing with a hammer, I mean, yeah, you do have to hit it pretty good, but you have to hit it straight and dead on to the top, so you're not damaging it. I'm using a rubber mallet to do it. It's not you know, bending any metal or causing any stress or fatigue. It's helping it out. It just doesn't have the air pressure to push those pins. So I finally got it. I moved. I was in the 4th hole. I moved to the 6th hole. So that's 2 holes. So if I'm correct with my 600, which I don't know if I am, but I think I am, you know, that's 1,200 pounds of movement. So that's pretty considerable, but I needed it. And I jumped back on the scale, scaled out perfect. My steers are now at 11.7, and my drives and my trailer are still perfectly set. Drive's a little heavier than the trailer, so very glad I finally got that done. And then just to add insult to injury, I'm on the road going, okay, great, I got my scale ticket. It's a certified cat scale. I'm good. Nobody's gonna mess with me now. And I'm going up to this weight station. I'm like, okay, go on, pull me in. Go ahead, pull me in. Of course, I get the green light. They're closed. So all of that for nothing, but it wasn't for nothing, because had they been open and had I not corrected that, that would have been a ticket. So lesson in that, don't procrastinate, people. If you see something that needs to be done, do it now. All right, here we go, you guys. We are here and got a door, and they said go ahead and back on in, so that's what we're gonna do. And it turns out all our sugar is going to one of the places that makes cream of wheat. So it's for one of their flavored varieties, or some of their flavored varieties. Maybe it's multiple varieties, who knows? But that explains why they need so much sugar. So all the interesting things you learn when you drive a truck. So it's a nice tight little lot, but it's very neatly organized, and the docks are basically just pull in and back straight, kinda. Yeah. So we're gonna do that. I always roll my window down when I back up. That's always a good habit to get into. If you don't, you should, because when you have a 72-foot long vehicle going in reverse, no matter how good you're watching and close you're watching, somebody might come out. You know, you never know. You want to have your window down so you can hear. You know, if somebody says stop, you want to be able to hear that. So let's see if I remember how to back a truck up. I've been going forward so much. Oh, I've got a nice slope on this lot. Got to really kick it over. Wow. Much bigger slope than I thought. That's the thing, when the ground is sloped, it kicks your trailer to the side. And you think you're going straight. You are going straight, you're lined up straight, but your trailer's still going off. And that's because the ground isn't even. That really throws you at first. It still throws me every now and then, like it just did, but I recovered. You're just not expecting it. Oh, come on. Tires, get over. There we go. You just got to keep pushing those tandems and pushing them until they get where they are supposed to be. Sometimes it takes more pushing than others. Let's see, are we there? We're almost there. Now, for the straightness of the trailer, I always look at the passenger side. I find that passenger side mirror is a better indicator of whether the trailer's straight, just because of the angles and the distance that you sit from that mirror. It tends to look straight in the mirror when it is, whereas the driver's side mirror, it looks, because of the angles, it looks like you're crooked. It looks like you know, the part of the trailer closest to you, the head, looks like it's farther away from the line than the very back end of the trailer, but it's an optical illusion because of the angles that you're looking at. And we are on. And that's it. So, because like right now as I'm looking at this mirror, I don't know if it'll show in the camera or not, but as I'm looking at this mirror, it looks like I'm crooked on the left. But I'm not. I'm dead straight. If I look on the passenger side, completely dead on straight. So, there we go. Straight line back, always good, especially when you're tired like I am. He said they're going to offload me pretty quick, and then it's on to a Pilot Flying J in the neighborhood and shut down, have a shower. God, I haven't had a shower since Saturday. Jesus. It's been one of those weeks where it's just like non-stop. Yeah. All right. So I need a shower. I need something to eat and some sleep. So that'll do it for today. See ya.